Hello there, I'm Keo Ronan Beatmaker, and welcome to this episode of the Monday Mindset Rants. So this is gonna be a little short episode. I uh I got schoolwork to take care of, but I've had some things on my mind, and now that the slap has settled a bit, I'd figure I would throw in my thoughts and perspectives, but not particularly on that, but on just a whole theme around toxic relationships and narcissistic relationships. And I mean, I guess, they're one and the same in many ways. Um, but I think one thing I think is a little funny about it. Well, I guess not really funny. Well, it kind of is. To me, it's kind of funny. It probably is not to everybody, but I think it's it's kind of funny how you could have all the money in the world, all the fame in the world, and you still cannot escape, or you still can't just find yourself a good partner to like settle down with. And it's like you can have all that money and fame, and you still can't escape like toxic relationships. And I just think it's just wild. But my what I really wanted to kind of talk about is just like some of the, you know, apologies for the motorcycle that's going off right now. But I guess I kind of just wanted to talk about like the, as the dust has settled on everything. I guess it's kind of like thinking about, you know, well, let's just talk about the elephant in the room. Everyone knows about Will and Jada's relationship and the way this family operates. And I'm sure if someone has out there, they've seen um, clips and stories, from the Red Table Talk to, what have you. Um, and I guess like what I see from a lot of this stuff is just how sad and unfortunate um, it's turning out for Will Smith, in the sense of like, his wife's like affair with that, like her son's best friend, or one of his good friends, and like just like the whole situation is just so bizarre and unfortunate, because he has curated such a persona of this nice, charming, lovable actor who just seems relatable, but he's married to this woman who just seems to have no problem just putting all of their, you know everything just out there, their entire life. And I I feel bad now for Will Smith. And I think a lot of people are probably following to the similar sentiment that I am, where it's like um just how broken this man must be inside. And to be with someone like her. And I'm not trying to speak mean, although on the Monday mindset rants we're allowed to be a little tough and rough. around the edges. But it's so sad, like, when you hear about, like, her talking openly about, still wanting to, loving, Tupac, or like how, like, her daughter wrote this letter to Tupac wishing him to come back to make her mom happy. I mean, she's still married to Will Smith and this stuff is going on. And I'm like, I can't imagine being a man in his position. And this is what I mean about, like, it doesn't even matter how much money or fame you have, you can't escape toxic relationships. And I mean, a recent, New York Times article that came out with her saying how she, doesn't love Will Smith. And it's like, imagine being that man, you know, and you're married to a woman who's openly telling people that she doesn't love you. Like, like what does that mean? And talking about, um just like, with those red table talks, just talking about, openly just humiliating, Will Smith, and just dragging him under the bus for just being a good guy, or just trying to be a good husband to her. Like, I'm gonna read a little bit of this, New York Post article from Asia Grace, which was published on April 8th, 2022. I'm just going to read, like, the beginning of it. Um, Jada Pinkett Smith confessed that she really didn't want to get married to Will Smith. In fact, the Matrix actress, now on the roasting spit from Smith's infamous Oscar smackdown of Chris Rock and the Academy decision Friday to ban him from the ceremony for 10 years, admitted to crying down the freaking aisle before tying the knot with Fresh Prince of Bel-Air star on New Year's Eve 1997. I was under so much pressure, being a young actress, being young, and I was just, like, pregnant, and I just didn't know what to do. Declared Pinkett Smith 50 in a freshly exhumed snippet from, lo and behold, her Red Table Talk Facebook series. I never wanted to be married. And in the clip from 2018, which resurfaced amid renewed controversy around her entanglement with R&B singer August Aslian. Yeah, Pinkett Smith candidly recalls her mother, Adrian, also known as Gammy, forcing her daughter and Smith to wed after she became pregnant with their first child together, son Jaden, now 23. I didn't want to get married, Pinkett Smith restated while seated around the circle table with her mom, as well as Will Smith and their daughter. I'm gonna pause right there. Okay, I'm gonna reread that for you guys. I really didn't want to get married, Pinkett Smith restated while seated around the circle table with her mom, as well as Smith and her daughter. Okay? Now, just take a second and think about that. Imagine being married to this woman. Imagine, now, not like that. Imagine being so in love with this woman, right? You're sitting there at her red table talk, and she literally tells you to your face she never really wanted to get married. How are you supposed to take that as a man? And then she says that in front of your daughter. It's like, like what kind like and to me, where the narcissism comes in, I was under so much pressure, being a young actress and being young, and I was just like pregnant and I didn't know what to do. I mean, like, what does that even mean? Who, like, and notice how she put being young actress, being young. She put it twice to like reaffirm she didn't know what she was doing. I mean, I'm not, I'm not a relationship expert. This is not here to talk about relationships, but this is, you know, talking about. I'm just expressing how unhealthy and asinine and wild this is from my own perspective. And just think about this, like she's making it seem as if like this was the only option. Like we're talking about Will Smith. I mean, if I'm going to be honest, when I was young, I wanted to be Will Smith. All right. Favorite album? Millennium. Okay. That's how much I love Will Smith. All right. That's how much I was a big fan of him. That my favorite album of his is Millennium. And I used to play the Wow Wow West um, album all the time, over and over again. Because that fucking album has some great ass tracks on it. All right, you ride like a cowboy towards the sun. Life ain't fun when you're on the run. Got your gun and you got your gold. The life of an outlaw's just a gun. No, no, no. Got your shotgun by your side. Got your horse and you ride till there ain't no place to hide. It's sad when the bad guy always dies. I don't know. That song's an Eminem song on that track. Oh man, yo, that album has some good ass songs on it. 8 minutes to sundown, oh baby, now what are you gonna do? Yo, Common and Jill Scott. Oh man, I love that song. Oh man, honestly, if you have a chance, go and listen to that album. It really is a fun album to listen to. And I think the tracks that they picked and the arrangement of the tracks is really, really good. So honestly, I would suggest you check it out. And also, I suggest you check out Will Smith's album Millennium, because that is a dope, dope album. It has some really, really good songs on there. But like, to circle back, like, just imagine, just you've been married to this woman since 1997, and in 2018 she decides to tell you to tell you and your daughter and your mother-in-law, yeah, I never really wanted to marry you. I only did it because I was pregnant with our first son. And it's like, and I was crying down the aisle, like, so she wasn't even happy. And this is my interpretation. She was, from her own words, she wasn't even happy about being married to Will. And it's like, okay, and and just take a second and just your brain, if you're like me, can go to all sorts of like, what does that mean? Because it's like, okay, so like, does that mean, does she even love her first son? With Does she love her first one? I don't know what the first one's name is. I just know Willow. I can't think of the other dude's name. But like, do you get what I mean by that? I don't know. Maybe that just sounds weird, but it's like, it almost seems like she has more of an appreciation from her with her daughter, and I could be totally wrong. I mean, I looked at her on her Twitter page, her profile picture. It's her mom, and her daughter. But I could be wrong. I don't know. But regardless, just take a second and think about that. Can you imagine? Just, she tells you that she never really wanted to be married to you, and at the same time, I'm pretty sure at the same time, wasn't she? Let's see. Was this at the same when was I'm looking up when the entanglement took place. I'm pretty sure it took place right around um right around the time that she said that she didn't want to get married to Will Smith. So I mean, I just think about that. Like your wife's having an affair, and at the same time she's telling you that she doesn't even want to be with you. I mean, how crazy is that? And then the dude, this August dude, is gonna be writing a book about the entire affair. Like, just imagine being a man in this position. All right, your wife tells you she never wanted to marry you, she never wanted to be with you. At the same time, she's having an affair that apparently you agreed upon, but we'll get to that. And then the dude is your wife like acknowledges it, humiliates you about it, doubles down on it, and then the dude is gonna go and write a book about it. And we can talk about all the slap and all that, but like just think about how crazy that is. And like I said earlier about her writing, like Willow, her daughter, writing a letter to Tupac, wanting him to come back to make her mom happy. Like, what does that mean? How what kind of like like the narcissism that she has like inflicted onto her daughter, to the point where her daughter's doing something like this, openly knowing that her mom is married to her father, the man who aided in creating her. I don't, and that's what I mean. Does she even love her father? I mean, we already know clearly Jada doesn't love Will. Is she like like grooming her daughter into not loving her father? Because I mean, she did groom that her son's best friend into in between her legs. So what what's stopping her from doing this? What's stopping her? I mean, really? Like, what do we have to say about this woman? I mean, I'm gonna play something here for you guys to listen to about how wild this woman is. About self. My grandmother taught me about self-pleasuring because she wanted me to know that that pleasure was from me. Exactly. She didn't want me to fall into the hands of a man, and if he gave me pleasure, to think that that was him. Yeah. And she taught me at 9. My grandmother taught me about self-pleasuring because she wanted me to know that that pleasure was from me. Exactly. She didn't want me to fall into the hands of a man, and if he gave me pleasure, to think that that was him. Yeah. And she taught me at 9. My grandma. Okay, I played that a couple times because I want you guys to hear that. All right, her grandmother taught her at 9 years old how to pleasure herself, so she didn't think that she needed a man. Yeah, here she is, and in the clip, her mom's there. All right, so did her mom give the sample approval of that? Did her mom even know? And her daughter's there. Think about that. What kind of message is she sending to her daughter, to other women, and her daughter's like agreeing with it, like, oh yeah, like who? And also, let's not even talk about who has that kind of conversation with their children. Who has that kind of conversation with their children? And then you have to ask yourself, did Jada teach that to her daughter? Like, do you get where I'm going with how weird and like, so think about this, okay? So even she's telling you that even if you're a woman and you're engaging in sex with another man, with a man, right? And you get to orgasm, you having sex with that man, he's not giving you the orgasm. You are. I don't, well, I don't know what that means, because I think most people, most normal people, and I think women would agree and fall into that category, that, if you're having really good sex and it's good dick, you're gonna have a splashy time. So help me understand, what kind of craziness is she talking about, and just what kind of this is weird, and that's creepy. I think you can kind of agree with me. That's a little weird. That's a little creepy and extremely unhealthy. And then to have that mentality, and then you're in a relationship with somebody, and like it's like, and she's talked about how Will doesn't satisfy her, like, and it's just all these craziness, and I just, you know I think who was it? Kevin Samuels who said it. But even I've had this idea, and I was really thinking about this whole open relationship thing, and I'm like, this really sounds more one-sided. And he said the same thing. This seems like a one-sided open relationship, because anyone who has seen that video of her talking about it, about her entanglement, you look at him, he looks broken. The man's crying. The man looks defeated. And he loves this woman. He genuinely loves this woman. So just think about that. Like, and this is the thing about being in a relationship with narcissistic people. And I've been in a relationship with a narcissist, but she wasn't Super Saiyan narcissist like Jada Pinkett Smith is. I mean, that woman is Super Saiyan Ultra Instinct narcissistic. Okay, I mean, the one I was dealing with, her power level was barely over, 100. But still, even for an average bloke like me, that's still a lot to contend with. All right, well, but it's what's even more funny about it, and like I was saying, is it doesn't even matter, because even though I'm, making minimum wage, and he's making, you know God's ransom. He still couldn't escape the narcissist. He can't escape it. I mean, I did. I willingly got out of the situation. I made the choice. He seems to be doubling down, or he has been so broken and manipulated that he can't get out of it. And also at the same time, he clearly genuinely loves this woman, to the point where he's willing to get up on stage and on international television and assault someone. And I don't care. I'm not here to talk about whether it was fake, whether it's part of occult symbolism, Masonic rituals, and all that fun jazz. I'm not talking about any of that stuff. I don't know enough about it, and what I do know, it's interesting. But what I'm talking about is more of the mindfulness, the lack of humanness that's been gone in this relationship, and how it sets a precedent for other people, and how many people have been in situations where they're, whether it's a one-sided open relationship or just a one-sided relationship in general. And that's kind of the thing I'm trying to talk about, because it's like, you know when you're dealing with a narcissistic person, they do an amazing job of convincing you that it's always your fault, and no matter what you do, it isn't good enough. And even when they do something and it's clearly their fault, they can convince you that you are part of the reason why they did that. And I think, you just, look at his career and you look at her career. And I'm not saying that she isn't a good actress. She is a good actress. But, look at her career and look at his career. Everyone loves Will Smith. Everyone can think of a Will Smith movie that they love. All right. I was over here talking about albums, but I mean, I do love Wild Wild West. I mean, Hitch. The dude was Hitch. He was fucking Hitch. All right. Whether or not you like that movie, it is a classic. romantic comedies. It's just one of those funny, silly ones that anyone can get around and enjoy. I mean, Kevin James was hilarious in that. Ah, man. The Q-tip. The Q-tip. Look it up. Look up Hitch, the Q-tip, and you'll get a kick out of that. But, we can all think of like certain movies that he's done that we're just like, yeah, like, but there's not that much you can think about when it comes to Jada Pinkett Smith. And I'm not trying to say that she's not a good actress. I know she's done good films. She did that bank robbery film, I think. She was in The Matrix. Um, she's in Madagascar, and she's hilarious in Madagascar. It's great. But we know Will Smith. Anytime we think of them, we think of Will Smith. I know people think Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith, but he's really the one that we think about. And if you've been around narcissistic people and if you've dated narcissistic people, they are very excellent at manipulating you into self sabotage behavior and actions. They don't want you to succeed. They don't want you to follow through, because then brings to light their inadequacies and their lack of drive and discipline and what have you. And I'm not saying that Jada Pinkett Smith necessarily has that, but when you're with a narcissist, they don't want you to succeed. They they want to drag you down. They want to just break you. And even if they stay with you, they want you to feel like you need them. And I don't know if maybe with her it's like, if she didn't want to marry Will Smith, is this her way of like being vindictive, is to just you know slowly erode away at his manhood, at his you know identity, at his self-confidence, his self-assurance, his emotional well-being, because that's what it kind of seems like. And everyone knows that when he slapped Chris Rock, it had nothing to do with the joke. All right, and let's we'll put a pin on that. All right, what she's dealing with, men deal with on a daily basis. There are millions of men out there who deal with alopecia and balding all the time, and there are men out there every day who get made fun of for balding every day. All right, comedians have made jokes about balding men all since beginning of comedians. There are movies where they make fun of bald dudes. There are entire TV episodes dedicated to making fun of one of the characters who's balding or has a bald head. So for her to act like what she's experiencing is something like profound and like it really isn't. There are plenty of women out there who are dealing with it themselves, all right, but go about their business, right? They don't make it, part of their identity. And that's a whole nother issue that's going on in our society. Maybe I'll save that for another rant. But what I'm trying to say is like what she's going through is no different than any other person. All right. And she already boasted about it. Like, I'm gonna have a shaved head, I'm looking good. She made fun of her. I remember watching a video and she's like, look at my bald spot, look at that, like, look at this line. Like, she was kind of making jokes about it. I was like, oh, okay, she's got alopecia, all right, whatever, and move along. It's we plenty of people have dealt with something like that. I mean, hell, that's a side effect caused from the vacation. But that's a whole nother rant. But all I'm trying to say is like what she her reaction and stuff is was a because was a reaction of a very narcissistic person. And you want to know how narcissistic it is after Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, she was laughing after the fact. So So she wasn't laughing when he made that joke, but she didn't find it funny when Chris Rock made that joke, but she found it funny when her husband assaulted him. That's a narcissistic behavior, okay? Because when it's about them, it's not funny, it's not okay. But when it's about you, oh well, it's funny. Well, that's what happens. That's what you get. That's what you deserve. What have you? And to me, this is just that slap had nothing to do with the joke, and even the joke wasn't even that bad. All right, it was a light joke, and it was actually kind of a compliment. But that's a whole nother thing. But that slap was because of the since the pandemic started, this man's entire relationship with his wife has been out in the open. This man has been dragged through the dirt. He has been mocked. There are memes about him and his relationship. You name it. Okay? And then like and here's the thing about being with a narcissist. You will do things. And like I said, you will do things that self-sabotage yourself in the guise of hoping to strengthen your relationship with them or to get them to validate you or acknowledge you. And that's what he did. And in the end, she still threw him under the bus. So think about that. I mean, like we shouldn't even be surprised that she threw him under the bus because she already admitted that she never really wanted to marry him. And I mean, if someone tells you've been in a relationship with them for 10, 15, 20 years and 20 years into it, they decide to tell you, "Yeah, I never really wanted to marry you." And you have two kids with them. You're going to start asking yourself, "Do they even love me?" Any normal, any rational person using their critical thinking skills in that moment would ask themselves, "Do they even love me?" And it could be whether it's with a woman or a man. Do they even love me? And it doesn't seem like Will Smith is taking that time to have that conversation with himself. And maybe he is. And maybe he's doing what many people do when they're caught up in a situation like that. They hope. They hope that they'll change. They hope that they'll figure it out. They'll hope that, well, maybe if I just do this or I just do that, because they've convinced you it's you. You're the reason why they're in this situation. I'm sure there's a part of Will Smith that has convinced himself by her own machinations that he's the reason why she has alopecia. I would not be surprised. Like, we can't rule anything out because this woman has no problem just completely dismantling this man, and he still stays by her. And at this point, I feel bad for him. At first, I was like, man, what the fuck, Will? What are you doing, dude? Really? You're doing all that for her? You're reacting like this? And then people started bringing up about like Harvey Weinstein and Roman Polanski and how they still have their Oscars, and I was like, oh well, you know what? That's a really valid, good point. And then I was like, you know what? He shouldn't get his Oscar taken away, but there should be some form of consequence, and like, whether he got it, he's banned for 10 years. I mean, whatever. But it's just that, like I was saying, that's what's so dangerous about being with narcissists is that they will manipulate you into self-sabotaging yourself, your career. Will Smith, I mean, think about it. All right, he has movies that are now being placed on hold indefinitely. I mean, people are walking away from working with him. His ad agency was thinking of dropping him. I mean, think about all of that. All of that stemmed from his wife's red table talk and her behavior, and him not taking control of his household, and taking control of the situation that he is in, and taking necessary steps to get control or to leave. I mean, I don't know what else to say, and it's just sad. It's just disappointing, but at the same time, it's like, we, if for average guys and gals who are mindful, who practice mindful dating skills and mindful living, and who are self-aware, and who are students of the art of living. We've seen this. We see these kind of people, and you don't have to be a student of the art of living, but if you're a critical thinking person and a self-aware person, you see this kind of behavior and you're like, man, this is terrible. And you also think to yourself like, wow, Will Smith can't even catch a break. And if Will Smith can't catch a break, god damn, what the hell am I gonna do? And so that's it's just it's just wild. And I think that's kind of the main focus of this one is narcissists create self-sabotaging you know behavior for the person that they're with, and they don't want you to succeed. They don't want you to grow and evolve because they don't want to themselves. They're comfortable where they're at. And you know Jada, she's out at Met galas and whatever you call them. Well, after a few days after this, she's out doing things as if nothing happened. Like literally distancing herself from her own husband because she doesn't want her reputation and her career to get sidelined. But it's like, sweetheart, we all know who's responsible for the entire behavior that Will Smith has been displayed that night. You can pretend and try to act like you're the bigger person. I mean, she even sent out a tweet like, "I'm here for growing and healing," or some nonsense like that. And his son tweeted out, he's like, "That's how we do it." Like this is crazy. And this is what's upsetting is like, you know, I looked up to Will Smith. I wanted to be like him, like I said, but when all this stuff starts coming to light about, who he's married and how he is, it's like you don't want to look up to a man like that. You lose your respect for him because he clearly does not have respect for himself. He's either has given it up, he has tossed it away willingly. So you can't really have respect for someone like that. And I'm being honest. I lost kind of my respect for him, and I feel bad for him, and I pity him now because he doesn't deserve any of this. But at the same time, you are willingly putting yourself in this situation. I mean, a part of him had to have known that she never really loved him, that she never wanted to be with him. He had to have known. I mean, he's obviously a pretty smart person. So he had to have been a little bit aware of that. But there it is when you're with narcissists, even if they're treating you like shit and telling you they don't really want you or you're never good enough, you still hope, well, I think I'll almost be there. Like I'll almost be good enough for them or whatever. You could keep, it's that hope, that twisted toxic hope that narcissists just put they hypnotize you with. And it's just, and it's crazy. And you see that with this man because you could tell he must have hoped that doing slapping Chris Rock and all that, that would have, I don't know what he hoped that would have gained him respect, love, admiration. It didn't get him any of that. She threw him under the bus. So and that's the thing about being in relationships with narcissistic people. They will throw you under the bus because you are just a object to them, and some are will have no problem being like a tick and just sucking you dry until they have their fill. And most of the time they don't have their fill until they're dead. And maybe it looks like that might be the case for Will and Jada. But I hope that average people are have looked at this situation as an example of the type of relationship you want to avoid. You want to avoid one-sided relationships, especially one-sided relationships where your significant other in the same house that you're in one room and then they're in the other room getting dick down, you know? Getting filled up. What? Huh? And they convince you that it's healthy and good for the relationship? What? Oh, I don't get it. I don't get it. It's sad, and it's even more sad that there are so many people out there like that who willingly behave very similar to Mrs. Smith over here. And like I said, I hope people see this as a learning experience of the type of people to avoid, and to really, take time and date someone. Don't get into a relationship, date them. All right, let it be a healthy time that you really get to know them and vet them through your interactions and experiences through dates and what have you. Because you don't want to end up in a situation like Will Smith, whether you're a guy or a girl. You don't want to end up in that situation. That's a, as I like to put it, a no boy bueno. So I hope that people will really take time and just kind of look at this situation, and see it for what it is. A narcissistic, toxic relationship. It's not healthy. Nobody in this relationship is winning. No one's gaining anything from this. I mean, look at the kids. Look at the way the kids are turning out. I mean, what kind of woman would have sex with her son's friend, take him into her house, he and like, it's just crazy to me. It's just crazy. And I don't know. I just hope that people will think about this and look at it from a learning experience about relationships and things to avoid, because some of the things that this woman says and thinks and behaves, it's not healthy. And we have to acknowledge that narcissistic people, they never change. They always stay the same. All right, they just might put on a new fresh coat, but narcissists never go away. And I hope that people, just like I said, and I'll repeat it, look at this as an example, and look at what happens when you date a narcissist, how they manipulate you into doing self-sabotaging actions and behaviors. And I just think we need to think about that. People need to start having those conversations, and really take their time getting to know someone when dating, and before they commit to a relationship. Because you know you don't want to end up like that. You don't want to end up like in Will Smith's situation. So I hope people just take time to really think about that. And I know right now it's hard to date. It's hard to be in relationships, but we just have to be mindful and self-aware and become a student of the art of living. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Monday Mindset. To learn more about myself and how you can support the Monday Mindset, head over to my Patreon page at Ronin Art and Music. That's Ronin Art and Music. If you're interested in reaching out, follow me on social media. On Twitter, Ronin Art and Music, or at me at Kios Ronin, KioosRonin. On Instagram, follow me at RoninArt_music. And if you prefer to email, hit me up at themondaymindset009 at gmail.com. That's themondaymindset
ronin@gmail.com, and that is all lowercase. If you're listening to this on your preferred streaming service, please make sure to subscribe. If you're listening on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment and a review, and slap that notification bell. On Apple Podcasts, please make sure to subscribe, rate the podcast, and leave a review, as this will help me and the podcast grow. Stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love.
Welcome to Ronin Art and Music. I wish to introduce everyone to my new Teespring page, where you can purchase designs featuring Ronin Art and Music, the Monday Mindset, or Ronin Thoughts. Head over to Teespring and search Ronin Art and Music, or head over to my Etsy page at Ronin Art and Music, where you can purchase photography postcards, motivational postcards, and hard copies of my debut album, True Colors. If you enjoy the merchandise, products, or content created by Ronin Art and Music, please take time to subscribe to my Patreon page at Ronin Art and Music. This is the best way to show continued support and join Clan Ronin, where you will have a hands-on impact on all things Ronin Art and Music. Stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love.